Begin the meeting of the WSESD on July 8th will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public bodies meeting remotely, and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public has difficulty accessing this meeting for technical reasons, please contact one of us on site, by email or text. We will do our very best to reconnect you. Nevertheless, please know that this meeting will continue. Okay. If any board member feels that an item on the consent agenda warrants discussion, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be set aside for discussion. In this way, the consent agenda will be approved in one motion. That request should be made now or before the vote on the consent agenda. Before we dig into this meeting, did Mohart get in touch with anyone here regarding warrants? Was she able to get in touch with you, Tim?
No.
She did not, okay. Somehow, we have to sign warrants. We don't have them. So the way it was left is if as many of us as possible could stop by the central office to sign the warrants this week, that would be great. Okay.
So we'll vote on it today, but the signature will
have to come later. That's
Okay.
right. I thought she was going to drop them off. There was a little bit of confusion about that, and then I asked her to get in touch with Tim on the off chance that he would be available, but he was not. But not a problem. The other thing, Matt Shibley, you and I need to sign for universal PreK contracts. And I don't know whether that's motionable or not.
It usually
It usually
Yeah.
is.
It's on the agenda.
I know, it's on the agenda, therefore it's motionable, but, okay, right, okay. So we're trying to just get things done ahead of time. Yes.
With the warrants, what hours are they keeping for the summer? Do we know?
The office was closing at about 4 o'clock today,
Okay.
and I think on Fridays they're closing as early as 3.
And they get there at 9 still, or 8, or
I'd say 9.
9? Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to student matters. And I don't see any students online. So we're going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items. And I don't see anyone in the public.
Let's
Which
go in
hands
the
up?
public, but yeah, no hands are up.
No hands are up, yeah. So, there we go. We're gonna move on to board matters. And I would like to welcome, and I'll do it again when they are here as the school year begins, but we do have officially 2 new student representatives. Willow Sharma and Riley Bristol. Both are rising seniors. Okay? So I just want to make that announcement. Leadership Council updates. All right, we're in summer mode, I know. So I don't see any hands up for Leadership Council updates. All right.
One note.
Oh, yes, Tim.
Yeah, the last time we met, there was the question about, are the chairs gonna meet? And the central office was going to meet with the chairs of the LCs, but that just never happened.
Well, I don't know, you mean in terms of having sort of a check-in,
Yeah,
a follow-up to the orientation?
yeah.
I don't know whether it happened or not. Do you?
Well, Rich Levy, the last time I saw him, he said it didn't happen.
And he's a chair?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I think that is something that needs to be presented when administrators are present.
But I don't know if this is the right time, but in the notes, I would like to just make a note that the Leadership Council is a policy that the board is responsible for upheld. And it might be good in the fall for the board, a few board members to host a meeting of the chairs of the LCs. Just a thought.
Hosting a meeting with the chairs of the LCs.
Well, okay, and that is, certainly has to be done in collaboration with administration, because that's, I think it's a great idea, but I don't know that we can determine that that takes place without having admin buy-in.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about leadership councils? And of course, I know that as we come back together in the fall, it's on my to-do list that we're gonna talk about assignments again and go through that, okay? Board subcommittees and supervisory union updates. Regarding the policy committee, I just want to acknowledge that there are only 2 voting board members, Anne and Deborah, on that committee at the moment. Board members do attend. Tim certainly attends regularly. And the way that meeting runs is if anyone has serious concerns about a policy, we really look to unearth it, iron it out before moving forward. In an ideal world, I don't want to bring something forward for a first reading and realize that head is misspelled as lead. That was a minor glitch, but right. Okay, so if anyone is interested in coming on board, yes.
May I ask a question?
Oh, you may.
The timing of that meeting is it's pretty consistently been 2:00 on a
Wednesday.
My schedule is generally pretty flexible, and I know that's one of the issues with the daytime meetings are harder for some folks. And I know that the policy and amendment committee has to meet during the day in order to kind of grab some of the administrators that need to be present.
Right.
But 2:00 is too hard, like it's right at pickup time.
Mhm.
So I have a flexible schedule, but my kids are not flexible at all. You know, like they need to be picked up.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
Just let them do what we all did. Walk 10 miles to school
Exactly.
and 10 miles
Run your
back
own
with
pace.
no shoes on.
Uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways.
Right.
In the snow.
And the scorching heat.
It's nice.
Okay, no, we
So I
really
was
do like your children.
wondering, but thank you. I was wondering if there is any flexibility to shift it,
Uh-huh,
not so that it overlaps with the end of the school day.
right.
That's really the problematic time.
So would starting at 1? What
wouldn't
time
actually.
what time
I mean-
start would work?
Oh, cause I would attend, but to like middle of the workday, I can't.
I had the exact same problem as Ruby, that's why I had to step away from it because school pickup is 2:45. So if it was 3:15, that would be better, or 11.
3:15 is going to be a problem for administrators with end of day meetings in schools, faculty meetings and whatnot. But it could, I mean, we could consider something earlier. That feels open, and so give me a real clean sense so that I can go back to the committee.
I mean,
We're not gonna meet until August.
yeah,
The second.
I think that, I could make, how long are the meetings?
2 hours.
Yeah, that won't work.
We work hard.
Wednesdays are like, Wednesdays are also too hard for me, so I think I'm out on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
But any other day, I just need to be able to leave Brattleboro by 2:30. But I love that committee, I think it's great, and the work is very important, and I don't wanna be on every committee.
Okay, what are you doing to me right now?
But I do think that, as with Colleen, I think that being mindful of
Right.
the working parent
Mhm.
is important, and for board members, but also for like the public.
Mhm.
There might be a committee or a policy being considered that a parent wants to, or a caregiver wants to come to.
Yes, and of course it's recorded and I make sure that it's posted every time, but I hear you loud and clear. Ability to leave by 2:30 is what
Yeah.
you said? 2:30.
Yeah,
Am I seeing
2:30
a yes?
would be great.
Okay, 2:30. And do you have a day constraint?
No, not necessarily.
So you're more flexible?
Yeah, I'm more
Yeah.
flexible. Wednesday's not an issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. That, I will have to take up with administrators, as they come back in August, okay? As well with Mo Hart, Mark, Spino, right.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of coordinating, but it feels like if one were to coordinate a change, now would be the time.
Right.
Especially since there are only 2 board members, it would be nice to increase numbers.
Right, okay. Thank you. Any other issues having to do with, committees? Okay,
Did the SU have an update? I've been a little bit mindful or understanding that there were conversations at the last meeting that I thought we would be getting an update on about discussion.
I know that, the policy that went for a first read having to do with evaluation of the superintendent, went back to Pietro Lynn for a review about whether, whether the contract can be extended
Correct.
by a year without going through the evaluation process. Is that correct? That's.
Well, it would still go through the evaluation process, but, like, Mark is able to extend admin's contracts
I see.
yearly, and we were checking on the status on how that would work for the superintendent.
I see.
So then, the evaluation would take place every year, but that 3-year contract period could be extended by an additional year and just push it out, which provides,
Stability.
vote of confidence,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, job security, that kind of thing. That I don't have an answer for right now, do not have an answer. And we're waiting to hear from Pietro Lynn on it. I don't know whether we've heard from him or not.
So right now, Mark is in the first year of a 3-year contract.
Yes,
The proposal, the question was whether this year you can extend that to a year or 2 years, even make it a 4-year contract. With an evaluation process, which I hope would involve the full SD. the full-blown evaluation process. But that came as a surprise to me that Mark can extend principal contracts. I didn't even think about how many year contracts they have. Do they have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? Does anybody know? That's something that I think the board should be aware of, how long the principal contracts are.
And I don't know that, my understanding, the SU is not looking to extend Mark's contract at this point, but is asking the hypothetical about that. Okay. So I think that these are questions that obviously we need admin present. Anything else? SU committees, anything like that?
Is the SU not meeting
The SU is not meeting tomorrow.
okay.
It's that much I can say. That would be the normal meeting time. I would think that at some point in July or August, well, certainly in August, we're going to meet.
Okay.
But it may very well be that the issues that are on this agenda right now that come up later on are issues that the SU should consider pretty quickly, having to do with the legislation. Okay, I'm going to move on. Universal PreK contracts. As I said, signatures, the chair and the clerk. We can take care of that in the next day or two. And I'm sorry.
Kerri's online.
Oh, Kerri. Hi, Kerri.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. Can you just give us, a 2-minute?
Sure. So as always, and good thing we may have another contract or two at the beginning of the school year because there might be 1 or 2 new UPK partners that are going through the process through the AOE to become UPK pre-qualified. But I wanted to get a start on having the ones that we've always had be ready for the school year. And so as you all know, we have our own public pre-K in our schools, and we also partner with private programs. And we have, I think, 14 or 15. And the district pays tuition for those 10 hours of UPK. So essentially, we do the private partner agreements every year, and we'll get the private partners to sign them as well, and we'll be good for the year.
Okay. Are the private partners of this year the same as the private partners of last year?
They are the same. And throughout the school year last year, we added Wild Strawberry Forest School,
Right.
which was separate.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So they're included. So we have the Brattleboro Center for Children, Early Education Services, Hilltop Montessori, Horizon Early Learning Center, Miss Martha's Creative Early Learning Program, Mulberry Bush, the Neighborhood School, Owl's Nest Preschool, the Garland School, the Timpson Hill Preschool, Vernon Preschool, Westby Nursery, the Wild Strawberry Forest, Winston Prouty. So we've got a great group of that have been partnering with us for a long time. So we're really happy to have them again.
All right. Did you just read all of them?
Yes, I believe I did. I can send an email too.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve universal pre-K contracts as presented by Kerri Beebe?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I've got a second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much, Kerri. Thank you. Good. All right. Well, hello. Okay. I was saying hello to a former board member, David Scholes. That was, I just want to identify my very warm hello. Update. We're up to the update On the board retreat, July 22, 2025, we just had a meeting this morning. Tim Maciel, Kim Price, Ruby McAdoo, Mary Gannon, and myself. And to begin the process of discussing what our goals are for that session, namely to talk about board goals and to talk about self-evaluation. Going through the self-evaluation, I think, first, and the goals, because that will get to very specific issues having to do with board business, we're going to have to do in a different context. We have to do that in a public setting, or have a committee bring it back to the board in a public session. So we are in the process of working out the details. And that will, that meeting on the 22nd in 2 weeks will take place here in this room. Will begin at 5 o'clock. So I'm assuming 5 to 9. Okay, and regarding food, we're gonna order in, and I've gotten dietary preferences, so they've come into me. If I haven't heard from you, I'm assuming all is well. We are not gonna do pizza. And yes, Matt, I do want help. Thank you. I don't know if we're gonna need someone else in addition, but we can recruit, or we can ask right now. Oh, Colleen. Okay, thank you. All right, Matt and Colleen. And, okay. Ruby.
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the, and this I think falls on a little bit under this agenda item and a little bit under the next one, which is the, there's a kind of task force around goal setting for the board. So one of the outcomes of today's planning meeting was to kind of making a plan around some homework that we as board members might have leading into the retreat. So I would say look out for an email by the end of this week, I think, that will kind of outline these things, but we wanted to give everybody a sense of what it is, what's coming, and allow it to be in public session in case there was a community member who had questions about it. So essentially, this is all related to doing prep work that will help us in conversations around board goals and board goal setting, because that will be part of what the retreat might focus on. And so what we're gonna be asking is that every board member bring a list of up to 6 things that they believe should be part of the board's WSESD board goals. And then what everybody brings will be shared with everyone in the group, and we'll be talking about and kind of processing similarities, differences, what those are, with the hope of kind of trying to coalesce some thoughts around board goal setting. And the email that we will send to you will kind of outline kind of some suggestions on what to do and how to get there. And also we'll have some links to examples of districts, other districts in the state. I do think that once you start, what we've learned on the task force with board goals is that other districts do things really differently than us. Or, like there's no cookie cutter approach as far as board goals, but a lot of them, a lot of them will look similar. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to find some that are really hone in on board governance specific goals. But those ones are harder to find on the internet. So the tasks that I think will be outlined are, the first one would be like, for you, what do you define a board goal versus a district goal through our CIP? What's the difference that you see? So that we'll be talking about that and defining what that is. And if you're able to, and if you want to, you can review the examples that are shared, and then bringing a list of up to 6 board goals to share as part of the retreat. And that will be used for preparatory work during the retreat in terms of whenever we're ready to start to hone in on what our board goals are. And I say up to 6, you could have 3. You could really have 1 if you were really focused, and we need this to happen. But hopefully there'll be some kind of overlap and synergy, but it will be interesting to see how we differ as well. So look out for an email. It's a short period of time. It's only 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So, you know, it will hopefully not be a burdensome task. But yeah, so that's what we got.
And we're going to keep score on who does the homework, who comes.
There will be gold stars.
And yeah, exactly. And it will not be, oh, I have it all up here. But you have to come with writing, implement, and had with it on. And then we know you actually did it.
Is this gonna be pass, fail, or graded?
Yeah, proficiency.
Flexible
Proficiency
pathways.
days, yeah.
Sticker or no sticker?
The sticker, there's a little star.
Yeah, she got it.
I'm not kidding. I
Oh, do you
have
really?
gold stars
You have star- oh.
all the time. More gold stars.
Wow, we should have a session about parenting techniques.
Oh, they're for me. I give myself gold stars. That's right.
Oh,
Nobody else
that's
will.
great. Oh, we
Well
okay,
done, Colleen.
we need to share that in a meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We all need gold stars, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the retreat coming up? Okay. So just for you to know that this is really committee working on this. We're going to meet again next week on this very same topic to just try and tighten it up as much as possible.
Just noting that on the list of board members who are focusing on the board retreat work, I'm not listed there, but I'm definitely participating, just so you know, in terms of the minutes.
You have Ann.
listed.
Mm.
Yeah, so just switch out. Maybe
Oh,
there
I'm
was
so sorry.
gonna be a Putney person and
Also.
I'm so sorry. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Update on board retreat. It's Kim, Tim, Ruby, and Deborah. Mm-hmm. Got it. Moving on.
Mhm.
Next item. I received an email from, I guess, the chair of, I'm sorry.
Board goals, do we need to, that was next
board
on there?
goals, board
I don't
goals.
think we need to go over
I
it,
think it
but
was covered.
Okay.
It was covered.
just wanted
Okay.
to-
Got it. Uh-huh.
call it out for the minutes.
Thank you very much. I received an email from Tessa Anders, is that her last name? Who is chair of social studies. And this has to do with the accreditation process that's going on at BUHS. And the team wants to meet with 3 board members. What was presented to me was the LC rep for BUHS, and I believe that's Ruby, myself as chair, and 1 other board member. The meeting is Monday at 2:15, October 20th. We're looking at, yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with NEASC. I've been on 4 different reaccreditation reviews at college level. I had a good friend who was president of NEASC for a long time. And as you know, I've been trying to, I've read the first report from 1 year ago. And I've been trying to get that posted for the public too, but I sent it out to everybody. The visiting team, I believe, would have eight people from outside institutions coming here. I've read the NEASC self-study handbook, and the visit is incredibly tight. There's hours for report writing, there's 45 minutes only to meet the board. There's classroom visits, they look at schoolwork. So it's a very tight schedule. And anyway, having said that, I didn't see a limitation on the number of board members, but I would like to be part of that team that meets the NEASC team. What the handbook says is that the NEASC team would be limited, that you wouldn't meet the whole team, you would just meet 3 members of that team. So it would be 45 minutes, I would be interested in doing that.
Okay, I do know that the email said 3 board members, very precisely. But Tim, I'm putting you down. Got it. Is that okay with the entire board? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Tim, Ruby, and Deborah. If I hear otherwise that it's expanded out, I will certainly come back to the board with that. Okay. Procedures for procurement. I sent it around to everyone because this morning it was not on the agenda. I realize the link is there at this point. Mohart wanted the board to see the 11 pages. So you've seen them. But the procedure that we should engage in is very simple. You want to purchase something, whatever that is, whether it's online, food, procurement, anything, a book, contact Mohart regarding it. Don't go outside and research it. She has vendors that she uses, and she would much prefer to do that legwork. Even if it means using everyone's bookstore. Okay? So please use her. We don't need to worry about anything, and certainly Matt and I need to talk to Mo. I was waiting until this meeting to hear about any other food restrictions and figure out what we're gonna do for food for the 22nd.
It's a minor point, but it's reading the procurement rules, and it emphasizes that if you're gonna buy something less than $40,000, you shop around, you look for, you do competitive bidding. But in the latest warrants, I noticed that Thomas Transportation seems to be the one company used for transporting athletic teams. And I shopped around myself, and there's other transportation agencies. So I'm just, I would just like it in the notes to bring it to the admin's attention that the question is Thomas Transportation the best value for the many tens of thousands of dollars we spend on transporting athletic teams?
So noted. Okay, the point is all for us, all requests go to Mo, don't shop around. Okay? She wanted the procurement information for your awareness of how detailed it gets. Next item on the agenda, update on the admin board retreat on June 24th. Admin is not here, but I thought it was important for us to have a discussion about that session while it's still fresh. And certainly I want to thank everyone for their hard work. And again, admin is not here at the moment. And I certainly want to thank Mohart for all of the hard work that she did, the organizing of it, the physicality of it. I mean, she did everything. So, comment on the retreat, the admin board retreat.
It was fun, interesting.
Yes.
I really appreciate having that really bulk of time to be more closely kind of with the administrators. I think that it gives me a better understanding of the schools that I'm not as closely connected to, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that every year. I appreciate it again this year. This year, my favorite part of the retreat was when we did the round robin, kind of like we were seated and administrators kind of came and did their elevator pitch of their specific school-specific CIP goals. I loved that. I loved I like hearing them, hearing similarities, differences, seeing the visuals that were different. And I have questions about why there's some differences and why there's some, but overall I felt really informed, and there was a flavor to each location, and I think that was great. The things about the retreat I felt were less successful. There were some activities that were, I couldn't get there. They were either complicated, or there was like a task that there were like a throng of people that I just got overwhelmed and kind of backed up because I just couldn't handle it. And so I think that there could be some work on more like activities that would do the thing we want, that was wanted of us, but maybe would be easier for that group to access. That's the only feedback point that I had. But particularly because this year we were approving the CIP goals for each site, which is new. That was an interesting process because that was like the first time I'd even thought about Green Street School. I don't have anybody there. I don't know, but I really appreciated that part.
What I liked about it was hearing the differences and stuff, and I think there should definitely be communication among all of them, because some of them have some really good ideas that I think could be shared to see, like, if this idea really works, then maybe share it about and, kind of track what works and what doesn't.
I know that for me there were key points that were important, and when I saw it emphasized at a particular school, it was like, okay. When it wasn't, I was writing the same thing again and again as a comment. I agree. I think the circular effect and hearing what was going on, I do think we do need cross-talk to make sure that each site can hear how the board feels about what they're hearing and and the perception. It's very philosophical to a large degree. I think, Ruby, if I'm not mistaken, the point that I felt overwhelmed, and there were just too many bodies standing still, and that was the newsprint activity. And that was so tightly constrained, and it might be that instead of having one newsprint per issue, you have 3 for that same issue, and 3, and so that there's just more space. That room was a little odd at that point, finding available wall space, I think, but that was an issue, and it by that point in the day, even though it was air conditioned, it just felt really overwhelming. Tim.
Yeah, like Jocelyn and Ruby, I think the best part for me was that meeting with the administrators. But that was also very frustrating The metaphor in my group was it was like speed dating.
Yeah.
Each principal had 5 minutes to present their goals for the year. That was really frustrating. But, you know, at least we got a taste. We got to spend 5 minutes with principals, which we rarely do. I thought that there's a lot of filler stuff that we just really didn't need. If I have to hear about the process of developing SMART goals again, I'll be very frustrated. Doing SMART goals to find out a problem with your dishwasher is an activity that just didn't work for my group that included Michaela and Mike Kelleher and all. So there's a lot of superfluous stuff about how the goals were developed. I just wanted a more laser-like focus on these are the goals we're preparing. This is what worked. This is what didn't work quite so well last time. Just a laser-like focus on the CIP goals from last year, and this is how we're going to develop them for the next year. That retreat could have been a dynamite retreat done in 90 minutes, I think. It'd be interesting to see, give the admin an assignment, take a 3-hour retreat, or was it 4 hours? How long was that?
We were there from, 8:30? Maybe it started at 9, and it ended at 3.
Oh, wow, that was long.
And we had a couple of breaks, and we had lunch,
Yeah.
and okay.
No, I just think that given the mandate to cut it down by 2 hours, we could all accomplish just as much.
One thing, as I'm hearing issues, I thought it was a great time to chat with administrators. And I thought the way we were seated at lunch was great. I was seated with people I would normally not be next to. And there was immediate focus on breaking us up. When we come in, we cluster. We're having coffee, bagels, we're gonna sit with people we're comfortable with. But immediately, and that was a goal in the planning process, it was to break that up so that we were interacting with different people. And for me, that takes time. I don't find that the summits really work in that way. It's the end of day for people, people are tired, and there's no time to have that kind of crosstalk. The room is too small, this room. We can't really spread out. So I think that some of the work takes time. I hope that with feedback next year, the speed dating is done more slowly and more deliberately so that we can actually have that conversation, because there were moments when we wanted to have the conversation, but that damn bell went off, right?
Yes, I wish that we had taken the time from the other session where it's Tim and I we're at the same table with
The SMART goals thing.
yes,
Yeah.
and taking that time and put it towards the principals being able to have more time.
Jessica.
I think I have two thoughts. So my first thought is I liked the speed dating, the idea of it. It was too fast. I didn't really get I couldn't think and reflect and write feedback, and I took my papers with me thinking I'll work on it throughout the day, but then I didn't really have time, so I didn't think I had enough time to have thoughtful feedback. And I think the other kind of feedback I'll get is there was a lot of crossover with all of the goals of each school, and so if there was a way to if they had to keep it to 5 minutes, really shorten it and say well, we know the overarching CIP goals, here's how ours are the same and here's how they're different. That might have been helpful to just really, really highlight in a very overview type of way. And then the other thing I'll say is while it was a full day, I appreciate all of the team building and like the mixer, the icebreakers and things, especially being so new on the board, because I got to know some people that I, don't usually get a chance to talk to. But I also think it makes for really good relationship building, and as like it does sometimes feel like are we wasting time? I think there's things you can't get otherwise unless you're doing those focus activities. And I will just reiterate the SMART goals thing. I liked my part of it was like figuring out how to make a SMART goal. It didn't fit for me for like where they were in the process of making the goals already. Like they already have the goals, and so I didn't understand how that made sense. But I liked the different, flavors of the activity.
And that, I think, was the goal of the activity, to create a scenario where, how does this fit together? So I was wondering what the perception was for a newer board member. And so I think it's that mix of, I love the laughter of the day. Yeah, Matt.
It's unfortunate that I couldn't be there. The board seems to have some really great reflections, positive, constructive, doing a really great job conversing about it. I'm wondering how we could share some of this wisdom with administration. What would be the most effective way?
I think a conversation at a board meeting, okay, in August. Making sure that we take a look at the minutes and the rundown. But I do think a conversation, not just in terms of debriefing for those of us who were on that committee constructing it, but for everyone maybe. But I do think we do need to come back together to debrief those of us who were on that committee. Brian.
Yeah, thanks. I was fine with the summary from each school. I really appreciated that. It was good to see similarities. It was good to see differences. It was enough for me in that context, and I felt like if there was something I wanted to know more about, I knew enough that I could go ask one of those principals to tell me more or to share ideas with them. I also really appreciated the opportunity to know more about the portrait of the graduate and that whole process. I think I have a better understanding of why we're even doing that in the first place. And I saw some value of that being added, not only just for high school students, but for students from the very beginning of their experience in public education all the way through. So I thought that was a really strong part of the day.
I think that's an important point about portrait of a graduate. It's not just at the final moment or even the final 4 years at BUHS. It's from the very beginning. Ruby.
I think that the section I focused on with Whitney had to do with kind of a look back of how did we do. And when I think about next year and the 10 school, like the multi-sites, that all have, some, like Guilford had like high percentage goals and like another school might have had lower ones. And I'm interested in how we can kind of concisely see that and whether, we tried to kind of create a visual that would like tell you, is it good, is it bad, how are we doing, kind of the proficiency based, stuff, whether or not that's used or some other format. But I do think, and this kind of dovetails with, I think something Colleen or Jessica, I can't remember who said it, but like somehow concisely, seeing them all will be even more important next year when we're looking at how'd you do, because that's the one piece I feel a little, and this goes to that whole, in terms of the, like the loop of where they were in the process. They were bringing kind of like, here's some goals, this is what, like, we're asking for approval, I continue to feel like there was a committee that had board input that was for the planning process around the board admin retreat. But I feel like we could have more meaningful input earlier in the loop in the big group. Like, I question whether or not the board admin retreat needs to be at a different time of year and earlier. But I question that myself, and I don't know how to impact that. Like, I don't know how to impact that. Like, we're slowly, like, now we're at least approving the goals before they go to the AOE. That's good, but it'd be great if we could have feedback on them. And this year particularly, we had so many different sites, and we had no feedback into those beyond, hopefully all the sites had leadership council feedback, and the administrators were working with their communities, and our board members are part of those leadership councils. Like, that's one way, but it's not consistent, and there's some sites that barely have a leadership council that's active. So I feel like we're like inching closer to a more productive, effective way, but I get a little anxious about next year when we're gonna have 10 sites that are saying, we achieved this and didn't achieve that. When we are not achieving something, when we didn't achieve a goal we set, what do? How do you react? Do you adjust the goal? How is it adjusted? Do you push back? I didn't feel like there was an opportunity to push back or like think about it, constructive kind of discussion. It was really just kind of like, here it is, and we had approval, a request for approval. So anyway, that's just I do think it's worthy of like conversation with administrators in the room. I feel a little anxious because I do think that it's perceived as pushback or like criticism when really it's constructively thinking about how do we become a better, more effective school district in terms of the board work around goal setting, district-wide goal setting. So yeah.
I'm wondering, I'm just thinking about an email that I was aware of. I have a feeling that each site was working at the 11th hour on these goals and this rapid fire go round. Because I don't know that every leadership council, as you said, was able to get to it. And certainly in my situation, an email went around like, who can talk to me about this? And it was very much at the last minute, and I don't know that anybody was able to. So do we have this discussion in a full board meeting, or do you feel that it would be better to do it as debriefing privately with the committee that worked on this?
I don't think it needs to be a full board meeting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've shared a lot of ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
People who are here are on that planning committee, or were, and I think that they should then carry those ideas forward for the administration for future planning.
Okay,
As
Matt?
you suggested.
I echo Ruby's sentiments about considering a different time frame and where board members would be best suited to engage in the dialogue and discussion. I know other board members have expressed a desire to have an open discussion about goals, district goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so although we are making progress as a district to approve them, I think that reflection is important. So whether it be in the large group or with the smaller committee, I think we need to really clearly state to administration, let's take a look at our process here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And take a look at timeframes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I do know that when we had our second planning meeting, was it our second or how many planning meetings did we have? We had two. We had two. And I remember asking for a third one.
Yes.
And is that right? I asked for a
That's
third,
right.
and I was said absolutely not.
Yeah.
And that absolutely not, I understand. It's like there is no time. End of year busyness can Yeah, Tim, what are you feeling?
No, I remember that moment distinctly, and I thought we need another session. But I thought maybe this should have been a time when the board members on that committee meet to discuss it. If the admin didn't have time for it, well, we should meet ourselves.
Yeah, but because, I hear you. My thoughts are, it's a collaboration, and we're looking to create this retreat together. So you need buy-in from both sides, that cross-discussion. So I think one way of resolving this is that the whole thing begins earlier, without the end-of-year crunch.
I'd like to note too that last year at the end of the retreat, Mark said that, well, these are continuous improvement goals and we could add them, we can change them throughout the year. Of course, that didn't happen last year. That same statement was made this year. These are continuous improvement plans. And the board, if it's our will, can revisit those goals and adjust them if we need to adjust them.
And that was, I don't think you were at the meeting right after the retreat, but we talked about we approved the goals, but also flagged that we wanted to bring back, once the administrators were back in August or September, we had some questions, particularly I think that there were two. One was hazing, harassment, and bullying, and how that appears and where it lives. And we felt like it was important enough that we weren't seeing it, and we wanted to have that discussion. And then there was one other one, and I can't remember what it was, but it's in the minutes.
Sense of belonging.
No, I can't remember but anyway, we can always refer back to the minutes. But I do think that there was we put a pin in that until the administrators were back. And I'm anticipating that hopefully that we'll be testing that. You know, like we have heard the continuous improvement plan can be changed. It's a fluid thing, and it's like, great. How does it work? Because there are 3 different boards that all need to approve a change, unless we decide to veer. You know, our goal, which I don't think our superintendent would be happy with. Like if we changed and none of the other boards did.
But it may be something that we should think about as an option, because we are actually providing oversight for 10 sites, regardless of the other boards.
But the other piece, and this is the part that it really was in the 11th hour that I was on the committee, and it was in the 11th hour that I became aware of this, that the AOE wasn't actually requiring us to have a district-wide CIP goal. They only are requiring, this year, site-specific CIP goals. And none of the site-specific CIP says, there are some CIP goals that didn't have sense of belonging in it at all. You know, because that was like they were focusing on different things. So I think that the CIP goal at the district level, we opted as a district to submit it, but it wasn't required. And so if we change that one, it doesn't have, like I'm confused. It really like blew up my brain that we were switching from the CIP district-wide to the site-specific. And I do have a better understanding of each site, the site CIP goals now, but I'm still grappling with like, well, what does that mean? You know, like how does that, if we do have a change or we do want to see something with hazing, harassment, and bullying reflected, does that mean all 10 of them have to reflect it? Or do we do it at the district level and that trickles down? Those are questions that I don't have an answer to, and I do think the administrators need to be part of those conversations.
And I think when we hear something, we need to hear it again, because I am a little bit in the dark right now with what you just said, Ruby. And I feel as if I need to hear it again, because I came away with something very different, right, so, yes.
I said this when we met after the retreat, but I would just wanna say it again, cause I think it's important, and I think part of SMART goals, I think the A is achievable and the R is realistic, and some of the goals didn't seem like they were either based on the data they were presenting of what had happened, and so I had, we talked about stretch goals, and some of them are a little like pie in the sky, but if it's a true SMART goal and they're saying, we wanna achieve this by next year, then they should be able to lay out a path of how they're gonna achieve it and use like past success of like, last year we did 10%, this year we're doing 12%. But it was like last year we did 30% and this year we're doing 100% to the goal. And that was what was hard for me. It wasn't like I was gonna stop from approving them, but I think, and some sites were different than others, some sites had really, lofty goals, others seemed more realistic. So I think bringing that process sooner, being able perhaps to vote site by site may make sense, or offer more feedback site by site, I think makes sense. So maybe doing like a mid-year retreat to start this work, and then a shorter retreat at the end of the year where we just kind of finalize everything.
It's a good suggestion.
Matt,
I will say, if my memory serves me correctly, Mary Kaufman at Oak Grove did bring forward proposed goals for Oak Grove, site-specific, at the Leadership Council. And I think the Leadership Councils are a prime spot, a prime ground for both the board and the public to be weighing in on site-specific goals. I would encourage us to consider delegating or asking Mark to delegate at least a portion of this discussion to occur in the LCs.
Green Street did as well. Leadership Council, we were there from the beginning to the end of making their goals, so.
Tim,
There was one site that was missing in all this, and that was EES, Head Start. Next time, we Head Start and PreK, we're expanding it. It's so important. I was very surprised that it wasn't part of the group, part of the site review.
I'm not sure why they were not. I know that Head Start behind the scenes has been really grappling with a lot of issues having to do with federal funding and restraints. I'm not saying that to excuse what you're saying, but right.
They probably do not have to do these goals for the AOE at the state level because they're federally mandated.
And they are, my understanding is they're a set-aside program under the auspices of a district. They have to be contained within a district. So there may be a variety of reasons. Nevertheless, point well taken, and I think that should go in the minutes. Because they are, we vote, right, and we provide oversight when they need a board member sitting there to give approval. We were on that committee last year, you and I, Tim.
Yeah, and the success of EES is important to the success of grade 1, 2, and so on.
Right. I am just looking at the minutes from that meeting to see. Okay. I can't do that while I'm doing this. Now, how do I get back to my screen? I don't know. I want to get rid of this. Never mind. There we go. I did it. Anything else about that day? Okay. So for now, we'll in terms of talking to admin, we'll ask for a meeting to reconvene the planning session and offer feedback in that way. Just writing myself a note. Ruby.
just so that it's recorded in the minutes, and so we don't lose it. I hadn't even thought about EES, and I thank you for flagging that. It missed my brain. But the other location that's new that I just realized we may want to consider having a leadership council like group for the Canal Street PreK. I mean, Mary Kaufman runs the, what's it called, the center, early childhood center, which is different than EES, but it's a site, and it's it technically should have those goals unless it's captured by another school's the auspices of another school. You know, like if the Oak Grove Leadership Council is talking about the early education center, then maybe that's captured there, but if it's not, then it might be something that in terms of engagement, that would be an opportunity to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Hopefully I'm at the next.
Jay.
It's Jay.
Yes.
Good, okay. Discussion of board oversight as it relates to HHB, which is an offshoot of issues that came up both in the planning session, very first day, and then reiterated by board members, that we really do want to see HHB as a front and center, whether it's our front and center moment thematically, the lens through which we are going to consider the work that we do. I don't see how that lens is different from equity or DEI, but we do need it to be front and center. So I think that is a discussion point for the board. Decide what we want to do. Or maybe it's something that we decide to do after our retreat. We'll see where we go with our retreat. Or now, Tim,
Oh, no, it wasn't.
I saw that moment.
The partial hand up.
Yes, exactly. Matt.
I can certainly appreciate the size of the district and the need to maintain anonymity for our students, and that some of this information may be sensitive. That being said, much like the use of physical interventions, the board was able to receive some information about that in a safe way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would personally very much appreciate seeing some data as granular as it could be, whether it's broken out by site, by month, by category within HHB. But I would really appreciate some specific data, and then clearly what it is the administration is doing specifically to address and bend the curve on some of this over the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to that data, I'd want to see how many investigations versus how many qualified.
Mhm.
Because I think there's a gap there in things that may or should qualify and don't.
Like things that were considered and didn't rise to an official
Yeah.
level.
Because there are gonna be moments we know when a family might pull out, when a complaint is made, but then deciding not to go any further. The other issue for me, and this came up I think at an SU meeting, what qualifies as harassment or bullying is a high bar. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that may not reach the level of the definition, but it is bullying, or it is in, repeated microaggressions, repeated taunting is problematic and it's demeaning. and it makes a school unsafe, not just for the so-called victim, but for everyone who hears it and is therefore victimized by it, and or complicit. Jocelyn.
I was gonna say that I think too that there are times where things may not be repetitive, but hit on nuanced subjects that impact differently. And I think sometimes the impact should be more important than the intent at times. Especially when it like drives a student to want to self-harm or.
I think I think you're absolutely correct, and I don't think it's at times. I think the impact is always more important than the intention, right? The intention can be, oh, come on, it was only a joke.
Right.
Why do you always have to be so sensitive, right? Yeah, that doesn't wash anymore. And I think in this political climate, it's well worth putting an emphasis that we are not, oh, there it is. Oh, so sorry. I lost my screen again. I'm learning something new through this meeting. Yes. So and a site can turn around and say, oh, well, we really don't have a problem. Yeah, you do have a problem. The very fact that you say you don't have a problem, you do have a problem. You know why? Because it's a school. And you always have a problem. And it's always something that you really want to help young people figure out ways of, I mean, we use this language now, use your words, right? Try to find words to express how you're feeling rather than pinching, hitting, shoving. Brian.
So in bringing this up, are we saying that we want the administrators to give us reports about harassment, hazing, and bullying? That's what I hear you're saying. Is that why we're bringing this up? Is that we want to ask them to do that? And if so, can we simply ask them to do that and suggest when we want to hear those or how often or that sort of thing? I'm trying to I'm not trying to cut things short. I just want to get to the point of what we're really talking about.
I think Jim, go ahead.
No, I think this is really important. And I think it's not a one meeting issue, but this should be a theme or a goal throughout our next year as a board addressing this. Because kids are really hurt who are bullied and harassed. And yeah, you can't improve what you don't measure. We need instant reports. We need surveys, climate surveys. We should also think about collecting data ourselves, maybe focus groups with student leaders beyond SAC. Just think, it's so important. How are we going to get our heads around how severe the problem is and whether solutions are working or not? But if I had to name one thing I hope the board accomplishes next year, it would be reducing bullying and hazing and harassment.
And this problem exists and it's not reported. So an administrator, a guidance counselor can say, oh, I'm not hearing anything. Kids absorb this stuff and they silence themselves because they're fearful of retaliation. So one of the issues that came up in our meeting today was focus groups. And it would have to be facilitated by someone who is not viewed as an authority figure. so that the conversation can be frank. And these conversations take place in the groupings of AWARE at the high school, or in the student advisory committee, because as I've said before, the kids view Tim and me as nobodies. We don't exist to them. And that's a compliment, right? Liz, I see your hand up. You have to unmute yourself. Oh, good.
I did it. I agree with everything that's being said here, but I would also want to put out there that the teaching of being an active bystander, and that starts way back in preschool. And I think in the long term, over many years, that's what's going to be the thing that helps the most, because the kids are used to doing it. They're not just going to stop because they turn 13 or whatever. They'll feel very comfortable in saying, hey, that wasn't okay. You said that. I know at my little preschool, they were all active, they were all active. They all did this. They copied my words, but they would say it to each other, and then they got very independent about doing it. So, definitely you want to try to get the problem under control, but I think it's worth emphasizing that the earlier kids are taught to be a bystander, the better.
Yes, thank you, Liz. So I just want to remind us of Brian's point, and I see Hannah's hand up, but Brian's point, what's the goal of this conversation? Where do we want to take this? Hannah Parker.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted,
Yes, you are.
but I can't start my video, so I'll just be a blank screen. Hi, everybody.
Yes, we've disabled starting videos in order to control the potential of a Zoom bomber.
Great. I have my vacation hair on anyway, so it's much better for me. I just wanted to say a couple things that I think are important. One of which is, I think, educating students, parents, and staff about what reporting looks like and what bullying and harassment is in a building is critical. I think that a lot of people throw around the word bullying way too frequently when it's not in fact bullying, and there's state laws and regulations and trainings that go into the people who are the bullying investigators in a building. And the second thing that really concerns me, and this is as a school counselor, it concerned me, and as a principal, it concerns me even more, is I think oftentimes when students find those trusted adults, whether they're you, Deborah, Tim, Michaela, people who are in these groups with students, when they share their stories, they oftentimes believe they're making a report and something's going to be done about it, and that information never comes to administration. So I think there's a balance when working with students in ensuring that they know that they're not actually reporting information when they're sharing stories.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Hannah, I agree with you, and they are aware of that, at least in the group that Tim and I work with. They're aware of that. And I appreciate, I use the word bullying incorrectly. I'm aware. But I fear that saying microaggressions is not taken as seriously as the word bullying. Matt. Sorry.
Go ahead. That's okay. Just one more thing. I do find, and I'm sure that this goes back a long time, including when I was in high school, kids are mean to each other at times. And as adults, we need to notice, recognize, teach the skills, make sure it doesn't continue. And, model how people should be treating each other all the time.
Yes.
We are constantly being viewed while we're in buildings and around students about what proper behavior looks like. And if we're hearing something and we're not saying something in the moment, we're also not taking away that negative behavior.
That's right. That's right. And then we, the adults, if we're passing by, we are
Yes.
now complicit. Yes.
100%.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally agree. Yeah. Matt?
I agree very much with what Hannah was indicating, and I view the HHB data as being barometers, but that the actual work is much before that. You know, echoing what Liz has indicated and what we all know to be true is that, and why I appreciate the CIP goal of sense of belonging, because it is around the microaggressions, the sense of belonging, the culture, climate, the kindness of our students and community, that's really where the work needs to begin, is in those fields. And I'll just note that I'm of the mind that this is a nationwide problem, that this is not just Windham Southeast. Right. And so I wonder if we could ask Mark or administration to be looking at what are the best practices to improve culture, climate, because we already know that this is an issue from the data from Panorama, from what we've been hearing from community members. I don't think we necessarily need a focus group to determine if it's an issue or not. It is. I think the question is, what are we going to do with it? And I agree that it needs to be something we come back to, but I don't know that the tools that we have that this district is using currently are bending the curve enough. We could consider what we could be doing better.
Ruby and then Mary Gannon.
I think that I really appreciate this conversation. I'm so glad that Hannah Parker's here, even though she should really be on vacation. I'm glad she had vacation here. But I appreciate her voice as well, because it really does, help. But I think, and this speaks to Brian's, attempt to kind of focus us in. I feels like there's two things that we as a board are asking for, and one is a system for monitoring. Tell us what's going on, what are the indicators, what's the data. I don't have the answer to what it is, and it's also going to be different from school to school and age to age, but someone smarter than me can probably figure that out, but give us that information. That feels like a kind of new elevation of this, and that will have an impact on the presentations and the calendar. So that's one issue, and then the other one is a little bit more amorphous, and it feels to me like what we want as a board is like an active district-wide campaign that helps to move the needle, change the culture. And we are not reinventing the wheel. Like, there are other districts, there are other communities, there are other places that have done this work and probably had a lot more resources that they could put towards it. So it feels like it'd be great to have our district be ahead of that and really, one that is an example that other districts turn to. And that, that won't happen unless we really prioritize it. And that's what I hear this board talking about now. It's just, I want this conversation to actually happen with a much larger group, not in July.
Right, okay, right. Beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
Mary, you need to, great.
Hey everyone, I don't want to take up more valuable time because I know you have a break coming up before the next agenda item, but I just would really want to second and honor what Hannah said and also what Ruby just said. And I'll just add a couple of points to that. So this is, as many of you know, this is work that I've been doing across the state for a while and have also been inserting myself into the policy level at the state level with the HHB Advisory Council, which Secretary Saunders just reinstated. So the Advisory Council on HHB is beginning to meet, and aside from the fact that it'd be very important to have voices there, like Hannah's voice, for example, as somebody who is a leader in a school, one of the things that's becoming very apparent is that the AOE needs to figure out how to have a stronger role in supporting districts around how this work around HHB actually takes place. And some of you may remember back, and I mentioned this morning at the PreK meeting, that back in the days, there were designated employee trainings that were happening under different AOE leadership. So that's something that those of us who are working at the advisory council level are really wanting to hear from district leaders about what is needed in order to do this, because we know that budgets are tight. We know that, as Matt said, or Ruby may have said, there are a lot of tools and initiatives that are out there. And I see them all the time. I think some of what is missing is the skill sets for the people who are in charge of the buildings or are trying to figure out what to do about reporting and how to support them and doing it in a way that can actually move towards building a culture. The other thing I'll just say quickly, I would agree with other points around this is about work that needs to happen prior to the reporting or the interventions, but how do we build culture? And I know that this district has been working hard on that, but I think there's also a culture that needs to get built around, how do I want to say this? And Matt said it already. This is happening across the state. Every district is reckoning with this, and Deborah said this already as well. The question becomes, what are the tools that we're missing or the skill sets that are missing to address it so we can lower the incident reporting, but to also just kind of own that it is part of the culture of a school and not to take offense to that when it's being spoken about publicly or among administrators, because I think that for any of us who are working so hard and we think we're doing everything and we don't want to continue the finger pointing. And I think it's important to think about how do we have honest, transparent conversations that are looking at what is truly happening so that then we can figure out ways of holding ourselves accountable, starting at the school board level down. Because there are other factors now, right? We have social media, we have so many other elements that are impacting, even from when we talked about this in the district 15 or 20 years ago. So I think there's some opportunities here to just be, and I appreciate what Ruby was saying, like just having some honest, transparent conversations and also thinking about ways to collect data that would be more helpful.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I took it off the agenda because of time constraints, but the letter that we wrote to the AOE advisory council on HHB and the reply that we received, we need to come back to that. Otherwise, our letter was meaningless, and our letter was not meaningless. So we need to come back to it and ask them for a legitimate reply and not a scheduling or an agenda. It just didn't make any sense what we got back. So, and that is about HHB. So we are going to come back to this conversation. Can we leave it where it is right now? Okay, because we'll definitely come back to this in August. Okay, and we could take a break right now and a little earlier than I expected, and then come back to the final two issues on the agenda. Okay, so it is
7:28.
7:28. We'll come back in 10 minutes. All right, so there is a motion on the agenda having to do with a request that has been out there for a while, that the board should ask the district's attorney for the history of all litigation. Over, I don't know,
3 years.
it says the past 3 years.
2 years is what the motion says.
Golly, well, wait a minute, the motion says 3.
Yeah.
But my words
The
say
description says
2. Thank you very much. So, discussion of, motion. So moved.
Would you like someone to read the motion?
Sure.
I would be happy to. I move that the legal counsel prepare in writing a summary of all cases involving the WSCSD/SU within the past 3 years. The summary should include all cases litigated, settled, considered for litigation, or currently awaiting resolution. The summary should also include the nature of the matter and any financial or policy implications to the extent permissible by law. It is understandable that this summary will be discussed only in executive session by the WSCSD board and not revealed to the general public. I so move.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved, it's been second, discussion. Tim?
So, I prepared something. So this motion is about ensuring that the WSESD board fulfills its legal and financial duty to understand the full legal landscape in which the district is operating. By requesting a written summary of all legal matters, past, pending, or threatened, we enable the board to make informed decisions regarding our risk management and policy review. But we're not asking to interfere with legal strategy or reveal sensitive details publicly. This summary, discussed only in the ES executive session, would provide the needed context on how legal issues may be affecting our resources, our staffing, our student safety, transparency within the board, and the responsible follow-up of legal matters presented to the board is a responsible and necessary step to good governance.
Sorry, we're waving our hands because of the fly, it's really all over the place. Tim? Matt? Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I am in favor of this motion, and even though my time on the board has been limited, my understanding is the last time we reached, or in a recent time, we've reached out for a specific project with legal counsel. There have not been specific parameters around the time frame within which the process should be completed, a certain cap on the amount of hours of the lawyer's work to be done so as to limit the amount of financial implications for the district. So I would encourage the board, when we make this request, if we choose to do so, that we be really clear about what we're expecting, when we're expecting it by, and how much we're prepared to spend for it.
For this?
For this.
Right.
Like for this, meaning the gathering and assembly of this stuff.
Yeah, the summary of all cases. Like ideally, I'd be open to some encouraged feedback, but like, we'd like this within a month, within 3 weeks, 9 weeks, and no more than 9, 12, 20 hours of legal time.
Or maybe even, just a suggestion, asking for their guesstimate on how much time their office would have to devote to this. And because it is a clock ticking and this will cost money.
Yeah, I think I would want to know the potential cost
Before proceeding. Or
before before a final authorization saying, yes, we want to do this. I'd want to know potentially how much is it going to cost.
With timeframes, because it might
Yes.
cost more to expedite it
Right.
versus if we allow
Correct.
some additional time to complete the work. But I think a time frame really needs to be in place. We want this by this date.
Other discussion?
But I can't imagine a situation where Pietro says, oh, it might take 10 hours, and we say, oh, we can't afford it. I think that we should pass this motion with the intent of doing it, and then how much in depth it is, is part of the negotiation with Pietro.
I'm sorry, at the end of what you just said, how much in depth would be part of the negotiation with Pietro, meaning discuss with him the potential times, the hours and the cost for producing this report?
Yeah, it's, we're very much in the dark in the last 3 years. How many cases have there been? There might have just been none, one, two. Well, no, we know there's been a few. But I'm thinking just a one paragraph summary of each case, just to give us an idea of where we stand. Is the district at risk of this suit going against us? Just where do we stand?
Matt,
Is this something we suggest that we're empowering the board chair to negotiate? Or is this something that should be brought forward to the entire board to weigh in on?
I'm gonna, as the board chair, I'm gonna say this is something the entire board weighs in on. Whatever negotiation takes place, it would be a discussion something in writing to say, what's your best estimate on the cost of producing this report? And bring it back to the board for discussion. We just, in the last budget, I believe, reduced our legal fees. And now we're talking about something that is going to increase our legal fee. When you say a paragraph on each item, that paragraph could amount, the way an office might work, to 3 hours worth of work. Producing that one little paragraph, and that can be quite costly. So this is all cases litigated, settled, or currently awaiting resolution. So, or considered for litigation. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot, and I know I have a few in my backlog. We have some, we know what they might be. And Ruby.
I was in favor of the way the motion kind of lays out what's expected, in part because I'd like there to be a system that's ongoing. And so my hope would be that if we get this report for the last 3 years, and like maybe it's a spreadsheet that can be added to over time. So like on a, as something comes up, it becomes something that we're made aware of and we can track. I think that the value of that is that when we, one of us steps down or we don't get reelected and there's a new person that comes on, there's a learning curve, and the context of some of these recent, transactions are really helpful. And of course, there may be things that, like, it won't have the detail. There are privileged things that won't be in there, but there can be an understanding of generally, in the way that we do with executive session, how do we describe executive session without naming the people and the actual things that are happening, but we were talking about this thing. I think that's what I envision with this.
So, Jessica.
Are we always made aware, like, as things come up? Are we always made aware of that? Or is there an instance where, like, the district may be in some type of litigation and we're not involved because it doesn't, like, directly involve us as the board?
Yeah. That's an excellent point, and I can think of one situation where we were not aware. And the lawsuit is a good thing, but I don't think we were made aware. I mean, I know it's public, so I'm not constrained, but the lawsuit that is ongoing against Monsanto for PCBs, were we aware of that, or did we hear about it after the fact? We heard about it after the fact. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about, and it's not a class action suit, but after the fact. But it was something that the superintendent was aware of. So the board was not. That's an interesting point, and the board should be aware of this kind of issue. So, how do you want to leave this motion at this point? I'm sorry, Ruby, you wanted.
I just wanted to say that
Yes.
my recollection in the past has been that there may be times when Mark engages Pietro's office that doesn't have to do with the board. And so there is, but it has to do with the district and so I do feel like there's a little bit of grayness or blurriness in terms of how, if we ask the lawyers, tell us all the things, there may be things that that are new to us because they are entirely in the realm of the superintendent.
But isn't that board oversight?
Yes,
I
but
think
is
so.
it this board or is it the SU board?
Right.
So
Uh-huh.
I think that's an excellent point. I don't think we can answer it now,
Yeah.
and I think that it's just something to flag as concern. I wonder if an amendment to the motion would be welcome, and that would be to move that the board chair work with legal counsel to plan a preparation in writing of a summary of all cases. So, like, changing it. I realize that the board chair may not like to.
No,
Yeah.
that's not why I was reacting. No,
Okay.
That isn't why I was reacting. But you're saying that the board chair should negotiate with the lawyer, I'm just trying to understand this friendly amendment, to create the report?
No,
Or to ask for an estimate of legal services to create the report? To get some sense of parameters that I can come back to the board with and say, do you really want to spend this money? Is this money well spent?
I believe a motion that says we move that the board chair work with legal counsel. To me that's enough rather than being explicitly come back with an estimate. I would rather, if you go to legal counsel and you find out that, we can do that, no big deal. I don't want it to wait for a board meeting to get approval. I feel personally that would be an appropriate, you in your judgment as chair could say to yourself, oh my God, no, we have to come back. Don't do anything, let me talk to the board. And that's in your discretion as chair. That would be why I would think.
I'm gonna say any lawyer is going to say, oh yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And the next thing I wanna know is, how much? How much?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many hours?
How many hours? So in that sense, I would want that directive to the board chair to say, please come back to the board with this information. See, I don't think that we are in a rush to get this. I would like to get it, but I think it can come back to the board one more time. I saw your hand up, Tim.
Yeah, realistically speaking, the lawyers, I think they charge $300-400 an hour. Say it takes 5 hours, that's $2,000. In the board budget, we have over $100,000 for legal services. And we aren't gonna come close, I would guess, to using that. I think a few $1,000s for information like this to assess our risk level is well worth.
I don't have an objection to it. I would like to know how many hours we're talking about. And I cannot possibly estimate what their filing system is like, how up to date they are. I'm sure they are very up to date, but I don't know. I don't know what they're working on right now in terms of their timeframes. So all the directive that I would like is to ask legal counsel what's involved in doing this, and how much time, and what is it gonna be billed at. And just come back to the board and get a nod, an approval from the board at that point. Brian. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry, I need to really back up a bit, because I don't understand exactly why we're talking about this, or why this is here, so let's give me some slack. You said, Tim, you want to understand our legal exposure, did I hear you correctly?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the motion pretty well states it.
Oh, okay, so then, one thing I don't understand is why we need a motion to get some of this information from our legal advisors, and why the board chair or someone from the board can't simply ask for that. But also, I'm not clear how, knowing our past cases and what was settled or litigated, how that informs us of what our legal exposure might be for the future. And I think I would be interested in knowing what's currently waiting resolution, so that we know what we may expect in the near future. But we can't predict what someone will bring to us legally based upon what they brought in the past. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I had another thought there too, but I think that's enough for right now. If I could get some clarity on some of those things, I'd appreciate it.
Matt.
I'll take a stab at it. I could be wrong. From where I sit, this feels like a special project, so a bit outside of the norm of our routine business as a board. Therefore, it makes sense in my mind for there to be a motion that we use our taxpayer dollars for this special project. Because I would disagree with it. One could make the argument that this report could be superfluous and unnecessary. I would disagree with that.
So is there some concern that there's some legal action pending against us that we would not be informed of? I'm getting the impression from this that we're concerned that there's something that our lawyer may be working on that we are not being told about, that we need to be told about, and I can't imagine why a lawyer would do that. So I feel like I'm not grasping the whole issue or the whole concern.
Let me give you a little background.
Okay.
A few months ago, I got a cryptic message from an insurance company talking about a case that the board reviewed in executive session about a guy who was suing one of our schools. And I thought, whoa, this is still going on. Where's it going? You know, how much at risk are we? What's happening with this case?
Okay, I'm a little, let's be very careful how we
Yeah, I know.
discuss
I didn't
this,
name any
because
school
a couple of us got this. But it's, okay, I think without going into it any further, because it is confidential, and
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
okay, so I'm not sure what this actually does for us, but I think that there is so Liz has her hand up. I'm gonna go to Liz. Okay, Liz?
Yeah, I would suggest taking out financial implications, just because that would just be a pie in the sky guesstimate by a lawyer. Because as you know, I'm still involved in something that occurred years ago. So, I mean, asking a lawyer to come up with that seems to me like, oh, I don't think we can, I don't know that they could even give you an answer for that.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. So because we have another big issue to discuss, I want to move forward with this. Ruby,
I actually disagree with Liz, and I think that the financial implications that I see are partly how much did this cost us? You know, how much did you bill us? And you know, in a previous part of my life, I worked in a legal office under lawyers and did this, like assembled this type of response all the time. So I think it's, you know, I think we should just consider the motion, move forward, and if it flies, it flies.
Okay,
But
I'm not sure what that means.
like I mean I'm trying not to call the question, but I'd like to move us towards actually voting on.
Point of order, is this with or without the friendly amendment?
And see, that's where I'm confused.
I think we need to vote on, or so Kim made the motion.
Ruby actually,
Technically, I made a motion.
Okay, so then you get to amend it then.
I mean, sure. I move. I would like to amend the motion.
Great.
To say I move that the WSCSD board chair work with or request from legal counsel the details around the preparation of a written summary of all cases involving and then all of the language that was in the previous, so that's the amendment. Is that, that's my amendment. I think it needs a second, and then we need to vote on it.
Second.
Okay. Okay, good, all right. So, where do we stand right now? Discussion on that, and, we're voting on this motion? Are we voting on this motion? I'm looking to see reactions, hands up, okay. And can you read it back, please, or some version of it? Thank you.
That the board chair request from legal counsel details around the preparation around a written summary of all cases involving the WSCSD and SU within the last 3 years. The summary should include all cases litigated, settled, considered for litigation, or currently awaiting resolution. The summary should also include the nature of the matter and any financial or policy implications to the extent permissible by law. It is understood that this summary will be discussed only in executive session by the WSCSD board and not revealed to the general public.
So can I just make sure that I understand this motion, that it is simply asking the board chair for the potential cost of putting this together?
Yep.
All right, that's what I'm hearing. Okay. Are we ready to come to a vote on this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as just read by the clerk, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Opposed.
Nay.
Nay. Opposed.
Okay, so we've got 2 noes and any abstentions? Okay, all right. It passes. I will come back to the board in August, assuming I can get to, assuming legal counsel is around. Well, legal counsel is always around. How could they not be? That office is always open for business. And I will come back with something from legal counsel in writing. All right, we are moving on to an update on legislative issues having to do with the law of the land, having to do with H454. And there is a motion associated with this discussion. And should we proceed with the motion and have discussion within the motion? So the motion, does someone want to make this motion?
I'm happy to make this motion. Although I'm happy to have someone else make the motion too.
Well, Ruby, please go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, great.
Rock it.
The Windham Southeast School District being composed of the member towns of Brattleboro, Putney, Dummerston, and Guilford, moves to remain within a supervisory union within a larger governance region to the extent practical, under the terms of H454 as approved on June 16, 2025 by the Senate and House of Representatives of the state of Vermont. The WSESD will submit our statement of intent to the new redistricting task force when it is established, and will reach out to contiguous school districts and supervisory unions to explore combining into a larger supervisory union if possible.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I would, oh, sorry, thank you.
No,
I
yes.
would like, I appreciate that we have this motion on the floor, but I think that it would be helpful to get the brief summary. I know that Tim, you forwarded something by email that I found helpful. I think there have been some things in, various, like 7 days and VT Digger that have been helpful, but this is just one piece of a bigger, picture, and I wonder if it would be helpful to know the bigger picture before we act on this motion.
484, has a lot in it. I don't think that we want to talk tonight about the funding formula or about tuitioning or about class size, because so much depends on the remapping task force. That being said, I hope this is kosher according to protocol, but David Scholes, I'll introduce him to you new members, is a former chair of the board. He served on boards for 14 years. He's a member of the Rural Schools Community Alliance Steering Committee. And he, more than anybody I know, spends hours every week actually listening to the legislative meetings. So his knowledge is firsthand. It's not just reading the Vermont Digger analysis. That being said, I would ask the board to allow David to speak more, specifically about 484 and the critical importance of the remapping task force and how we might influence their decision.
Okay, I think that there is a lot in 454. And so I don't think we can do all of it tonight, but certainly with respect to this motion that is requested by the Rural School Community Alliance and the fact that we are a supervisory union and not a supervisory district is critical. So with board permission, David Scholes.
Thank you. What Ruby just said is kind of exactly what I had prepared based on conversations with Tim. And I also know that, Deborah, you met with people from surrounding districts as well. I don't know if anything came of that will...
Well, it was, yes. So Ann Beekman, as chair of the SU, and myself as chair of the SD, met with 2 board chairs in neighboring supervisory unions to initiate conversation having to do with our physical size. We have in our supervisory union 2,400 students approximately, and this law strongly recommends or will require shortly that a supervisory union be comprised of somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000. So we looked at maps and we met with Cheryl Charles, who is chair of Windham Northeast. And we met with Dan MacArthur, who is chair of Wyndham's Marlboro, but that's part of Windham Central. That's part of Windham Central. I need a map in front of me to understand this. To begin to talk about what are we considering? We're all Windham County, and what would it mean for any one of us to collaborate with each other with the goal of hitting that minimum of 4,000. And it's not something that the task force, which has just been formed, it was in the news, we are nevertheless still at the mercy of this task force and the three potential maps of the state that they're going to come up with by December. But to have these discussions and to send a motion like this to the task force and to our legislators sends a very strong message about our intention. Does that?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And my remarks are really brief because there is, as Deborah said, there's a ton of things in this bill. And the redistricting task force is the one that's most immediately matters to this board. And what they're going to do is create three maps. One of them will be the entire state will be put in larger supervisory districts. And that you're a supervisory district, you supervise 4 towns. So you're an SD right now. You supervise schools in 4 towns. The 4,000 student supervisory district that you would be folded into under this option would have probably 10 towns. And this board would be gone, and there would be the board would be elected by, what do they call them, wards. There's another task force this summer that's looking at the state to develop the voting wards if they go with all supervisory districts. So your board would be gone, people would be elected from wards around some part of the county that's contiguous with this district. And that board would be responsible for everything related to all of those schools and all of those towns. So that's.
David, can I just stop you 1 second? Because you're calling us a supervisory district.
You are.
And my understanding from Margaret on that call, the distinction between a supervisory district and a supervisory union, a supervisory district is a standalone district that provides everything for itself.
Yes.
Transportation, curriculum, and my understanding,
Right.
we're a supervisory union.
No, this board is the Windham Southeast School District, which should be called the Windham Southeast Unified Union Supervisory District because you're supervising 4 towns. The supervisory district that the law contemplates is this on a much bigger scale. It's not, but that's a technical question that doesn't really matter because you are part of the supervisory union, so you understand what that means. So the point I'm trying to make briefly, and so far I failed, is that if the legislature approves the map that's going to be created that turns everything into supervisory districts across the state, then this board will be gone and there'll be one board for a much larger geographic area. The second option, the second map, and this is required by the law, is required to include supervisory unions. And that would mean that many districts would still exist. This board would still exist if you united with Windham Northeast on the Westminster board, the Bellows Falls High School board, the Rockingham board would still exist. If you unified with Windham West, Windham Central, New Brooks board would still exist, the Marlboro board would still exist, and the Leland the Great. Those boards would all still exist. But the supervisory union board, which right now is 4 of you and Kerri from Vernon, would be centralized, and all of the administrative activities, all the administrative requirements for, not all of them, but for most of the administrative requirements would be carried out by a bigger supervisory union board. And there might be one or two members from this board on it, and that all has to be decided. The important thing is that, well, let me pass these around first, because what I did was prepare a list of, and this is a list of some of the, you can pass this up to. List of some of the administrative responsibilities.
Thank you.
That would be centralized. These are things that the SU board is responsible for now, and in some places, and the district is responsible for in some places. And these are the kinds of things that would be centralized. And as you were talking today, and as I listened to the conversations and the issues that you dealt with and the ways that you listened to each other and the ways you came to resolution, none of these things were part of tonight's conversation. So these things would really, if this got more centralized, it wouldn't change what you just did tonight. If you become part of a larger supervisory district, you would be gone. You wouldn't be having these conversations at all. And these conversations would be had by probably, this has to be determined too, but probably 5 to 7 people representing a significant portion of Windham County. To get 4,000 students, it's going to be a lot of the county. And there are going to be 5 to 7 people meeting somewhere else trying to deal with all of these things that you just dealt with. So I'm revealing my prejudice here, and I openly reveal it. I much prefer the small d democracy of a local school board. So I'm encouraging you, and as a steering committee member of the Alliance, our goal is to maintain as many of these local boards as possible, and to get a supervisory union model adopted by the legislature, which continues the existence of these boards with all the authority that you have now to deal with the crucial issues that you just talked about. So that's really the basic information in terms of making this request, passing this motion, and considering whether to look to your neighbors to create a larger supervisory union. Now, one other thing, those are 2 choices. The third choice is that if these maps are not, just don't seem to make sense, or people recognize aren't going to work, the legislature has to approve them. They're going to be presented at the beginning, before the legislature. They're going to committees, and within the first 2 weeks of the session this winter, this January, the legislature is going to vote on whether to accept those maps. They might be changed a little bit or not, we don't know. But the other option is that if what you put together, or what the state puts together in these maps, if you don't like it, you can talk to your legislators and get the legislature to vote it down. All the legislators in this district, except Nader Hashim, voted for this bill, because it was presented as something that provided enough alternatives and enough possibilities that they felt like they were going to give it a chance and see if it would work. So whether it works depends entirely on what you boards do now, and how well you engage. Is deeply important, engaging with your community, especially teachers and parents, and come up with a plan that will work. And again, the administrative, if you turn on the other side of the paper I just gave you, I thought it would be useful to have a list. This is straight from the statute. No, the bold is, I put the bold and the underline, the emphasis is mine. But this is from the statute. These are the powers and duties of the redistricting task force. These are all of the things that they need, A through N, are all of the things that they need to consider as they draw these maps. And most of it is information gathering. Most of it is data. But you'll notice I highlighted J and L, because I know from being a part of this SU and with the town school board and then with the merged board, that it matters a lot to Dummerston and Putney that they have their middle schools in their middle schools. And the bill requires this task force to look for opportunities to centralize middle schools and create regional high schools. And so I thought it would be important for you to recognize that that's a part of what you're going to need to talk about. And you'll have to really justify keeping the things the way they are if you want to keep them that way. The other thing is the maximization of cost efficiencies. The supervisory district model, that's been tried all over the country, all over the world, all over America. And there are dozens of research projects, and I would be happy to send you a list of them, that have shown very clearly that districts do not become more efficient, they do not save money, and the experience of the students are not improved simply by combining governance into one great big body. That doesn't really make any difference in terms of efficiency, cost, or effectiveness. And there is an even greater body of evidence that supervisory unions, typically they work with an organization called BUHS. It's a Board of Cooperative Educational Services, and actually our district is involved in those conversations right now with Windham Northeast around the outplacement of special needs students. But all of these administrative functions, I took this right from some BOCES testimony to the legislature this year. These are the kinds of things that do get consolidated when you consolidate administrative services. And there's evidence that it is much more efficient. It actually does save money. If you start to look at combining with surrounding SUs, and you start looking at the administrative positions, that you only need one superintendent, you only need one business officer, you only need one special ed director, you only need one curriculum coordinator. The other people can find other functions or be doing other things, but when those things become centralized, and especially with communication these days, money is saved, and it's been demonstrated. So the empirical evidence is that supervisory unions are more efficient. And the empirical evidence is absent that supervisory districts are more efficient. So, but again, you're going to need to, if you do work with these other districts, you're going to need to talk about how is it going to become more efficient.
Okay. Just to highlight what's at risk. If the task force remaps and gets rid of the our SD, that means that our articles of agreement are gone, and that means that some other entity far away from us can make a decision without voter influence on closing Oak Grove, for example. Why keep Oak Grove when you can put those students a mile away to Greenfield or Academy? Those are the decisions that I think might come out of this. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. They will be brand new school districts, and all of the agreements currently in place in our school districts need to be redone. The labor contracts, the administrative contracts, job descriptions, all of that.
But if we go with the other option of forming a larger supervisory union and keeping our district, our articles of agreement would still remain.
Yeah, because your district is not changed. I think the easiest way to describe it is the combined supervisory union combines administrative services. The supervisory district combines governance, and that's everything.
I just want to, I think this is an obvious thing, but I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. The Rural Schools Community Alliance is putting forth this option and believes it is the best option for us to move forward. Like, we've aligned ourselves with the Rural Schools Community Alliance. And I'm assuming this is coming, and we talked about having meetings with Dan MacArthur, because this is where it's early in the process, but this is where the Rural Schools Community Alliance is encouraging us to go. Is that correct?
Yeah, the task force is gonna have to work quickly, and you can see from the amount, we've got a lot of work to do. And, so the sooner, I mean, if you know that you wanna keep your, and this is a conversation you have to have, that you wanna keep your board, that you think it's important to have this level of contact with your school, and that you think it's important for the schools to have your voices, the community voices, then this is the way to proceed. To let that task force know formally that you're gonna prepare a proposal to combine administrative services under a larger supervisory union. Try to get to 4,000 students if you can, and between 4 and 8, and submit a proposal and have them include that in the map. And then the legislature will decide whether they think it's going to work.
May I ask one other question? So in this, the thing that I have been tripping on and not understanding is around the idea of budgeting, or right now what happens is we as a school district, not the supervisory union, but the school district put forward a budget that has some amount of supervisory union support that's in it. But our region, our district votes on a budget. So in the world of, let's say, in an imaginary world, that we are a supervisory union that includes Windham Northeast and Windham Central and, maybe a few others. And we are 6,000 kids in that supervisory union. What is the budgeting? It looks like fiscal management is one of the things that is oversight from the supervisory union level. Would it mean that our budget is voted on by the supervisory union, or do we still have budgets that are within our school districts?
Some of that remains to be seen. And unless they change the law, the school district will always create their budget. What's going to change is the other part of now it's Act 73 since it's passed. It was H 454, and now it's Act 73. The other part of Act 73 is creating a foundation formula, a set amount of money per pupil cost every district, and that's what you get totally. So that would come to, and again, this all has to be worked out, but the only way that can work out is that would come to the SU. And then the SU would distribute it based on the number of students. What the school board would do is to determine where to spend it. You would still decide what to do with that money, and it wouldn't change from what you'd get requests from the principal. Everybody knows how much it's going to be, and then you come up with how you want it to be spent.
Okay.
I do want to point out that they're supposed to start meeting August 1st.
They have to meet before August 1st because they have to start.
May I ask?
Yes.
So, has the Rural Schools Community Alliance, are you approaching every member, school district?
There are 250 towns in Vermont, and over 100 of them are members of the Alliance, and they're all getting the same information. They're all being asked to file the same motion right now, and then deal with the rest of it as you go. Because when you get this on record, then the task force has to listen to it. But it's a lot of work and a lot of tough decisions, a lot of difficult decisions. And I mean, the culture of this district compared to the surrounding ones, it may not be all that comfortable a fit. And it may turn out that that's true all over the state, and the whole thing will just be set aside, and the legislature will just figure out a way to reduce the property tax and give up this grand plan. But right now, this is what they think is the best idea.
Any further questions or discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Yes, we are, and then after we vote,
You have it, yes.
may have another motion.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right. Passed
Thank you,
unanimously.
and especially thank you for the contribution you made to the Alliance, so we were able to hire the lobbyist that made it possible for us to get these conditions, and this would not have been here. This option would not have been there if it hadn't been for
I'm
your
glad
support.
you brought that up because we haven't discussed this.
I wanted to say it first, but I'm not that.
No, but that, the RCA needs a little more money.
But wait 1 second, we have a motion.
We voted, everybody approved it.
Oh,
Yes.
Shouldn't leave the room.
wow, oh my God. You voted and everybody approved it?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm in that vote as well,
Yes.
approving it. Oh, thank you, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. We were all going to the discussion, so.
So,
Go ahead, Joe.
so obviously this is critically important. The RSCA has been pretty influential with the legislature. To continue their work, they needed more money for the lobbyists. I would like to make a motion that the WSESD allocate $1,500 to the RSCA lobbyists to continue their work with the legislature.
Okay, procedurally, can this motion take place?
It's part of the discussion.
It's part of the discussion. It's, okay, but the discussion was embedded in a motion, wasn't it? Okay, I'm just making sure this is really legal. We had a motion and the discussion was embedded in the motion, we voted on it, and now this is something new that has come up. So is it still part of the same discussion? That's what I'm asking. I really am asking this.
It feels to me like that actually the agenda item is an
Brought
update
it,
on
right,
this
okay,
thing.
good.
The motion happened to be written in there,
Yeah.
but that didn't encompass the whole thing. So it
Got it.
feels appropriate to me. It feels a little bit, I feel confused by the new format of the agenda having motions listed in there. Because then if there's a new motion, it's not there. So it feels like, is that allowable? But I think it is. I think it's legitimately allowable.
Well, this is just based upon information that I got from board members with very precise motions written.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, that can be on the agenda for sure. Okay, so we continue this discussion, yes,
I feel like it branches off.
got it, so it's the same thing, okay, just,
I will second Tim's motion.
got it, okay. And can I hear the motion back again before we open it up for discussion?
Did you get it?
I think I did.
Right.
That the WSESD allocate $1,500 to the Rural School Community Alliance.
Okay.
Okay, discussion.
I'm in favor of this.
What did we donate the last time? It was a certain amount per student.
4,600.
It was,
The number of students
4,600.
yeah,
doubled.
it was, it was $2 per student.
Yeah.
So it was over 4,000. Rudy, you had your hand up.
Oh, I was just going to comment that I think that we have formally aligned ourselves with the RSCA, and I think this is a need that has been expressed. I think it makes sense to rise to that request.
All right, any other discussion? Jessica.
I'm curious how much you're trying to raise this round.
Well, it's hard to know because we raised enough to make it from, I think it was February to the middle of June. And we've got a few $1,000s left. The lobbyist is still making phone calls for us, like we got the information about the task force for us, things like that. So, and I'm not sure how much time we're gonna need for him over the summer while the task force is working. But if the maps come out looking sort of okay, and people think that this can work, then not much. If it's gonna get voted down and they're gonna have to start over again, then we're gonna need to raise $40,000 for 4 months worth of legal lobbying time. it's been just way more than worth it. I mean, literally, this would not have happened. And the fact that the map and the foundation formula, when these committees or task forces are done creating those and they present them to the legislature has to approve it. And typically they pass it and they say, go do it and give it to us and let's just go. We were able to push all that back and say you have to get real data for Vermont. You can't just say this is what happened in other places and think it's going to happen here. And we were able to convince the legislature to do, half of the legislature to do that. The other half doesn't. We didn't. A half plus one.
Other discussion? Okay, are we ready to bring this to a vote? All right, all those in favor of the motion as read by the clerk, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Yes, Ruby.
Still on this update thing, I feel pretty strongly that this issue of what's going on in the legislature is so important for us to keep our eye on the ball and what's happening. I feel really thankful to Jocelyn and to Tim for kind of keeping us informed, making sure that they're paying attention. Sometimes my focus can't entirely be on this. And so I just want to make sure that we have space and adequate time to really understand what's going on. And so, for example, there are things that we're not ready to talk about now. We want the administrative room, whatever. There's like stuff that related to cell phones stuff, like there's lots of things that are actually imminently going to happen. And then others that are about planning that we do need support of things like the RSCA. So anyway, I just want to call that out, that this update that has kind of been a standing agenda item, to me, it feels like over the next year, that will have to stay and possibly even more time and space and experts brought in. And I don't think I think we may need to, like, potentially at some point create some task force subcommittee that does, like, if we do find traction with Windham Northeast or Windham Central, like, have a little group that helps us to move that forward. And so I'm just calling that out. I don't have a plan. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is really important.
Mm-hmm. The conversation that we had the other day was very much just the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's a very odd conversation to have. Mm-hmm. And it's also a very odd issue having to do with staffing, and I know that came up in this group. How many superintendents will there be? Mm-hmm. And the size of a central office, and on and on. It raises the specter of, are we really saving money by doing it or not? And again, it goes back to changes happening very quickly in a few years without any evaluation of the first change that took place, ostensibly to save money. And I should not say that terrible word of Act 46. Mm-hmm. So here we are, and the thing about this legislation, and I know David has made mention of this, the need to make our voices heard is not over. It's just going to begin all over again. And there are these time frames when different pieces are supposed to hinge together, but the different pieces are unknown at this point. And again, it will hit the legislature, and be rapid fire. And so we have to consider this in terms of who the candidates are for re-election and what their platforms are, and making our needs known to them, and making sure that the whole issue of rural schools is not forgotten in this mix. Jocelyn.
I don't know if it's helpful or not, but our Representative Harrison from Windham County is on the task force.
Yes, it is, right, yes.
That's very helpful.
Yes, it is.
She's a very balanced and smart woman.
Right. And so we, again, and this has come up, and it seems to me there was discussion saying that July is not the best month to have a community forum, a gathering with legislators again, and not just one, but the lineup of those people who represent us, who have differing perspectives. I think we need to plan that. I think we need to plan it as the school year begins, and get on the ball with that. David.
Yeah, I don't know if Cheryl talked about this yesterday, but when you met, I guess it wasn't yesterday.
It was 2 days ago, or maybe it was, no, it was last week.
Yeah.
Oh, it was last week. Oh, I'll give you the precise
so I
date.
wasn't
Would you
that
like to
far
know the
off.
location? But you already know that, don't you?
No, I know it was in Putney. That's as much as I know.
Gee, see?
But did she? Well, if she told you this, I'll be being redundant. But the RSCA right now is asking boards to pass this motion.
Yes.
This is the first step, and we're working on all kinds of support, all kinds of documentation, all kinds of clarification about what these steps are going to require, and making sure that we're really closely monitoring what the task force does, so that you continually get regular updates. So we're all in until January.
You're all in and forever.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. Tim.
Question for you and David. What should our next step be? Or what should the next step for the administration be? In talking about the larger SU, for example.
Well, first of all, I think that this motion, worded differently, needs to go to the SU. So as the SU meets, we want this same motion we suggest that the SU support this motion. And
The motion that already passed, or the 1,500?
this motion that already passed, having to do with providing direction to the task force about what our intentions are and what our needs and wants are. So the same motion that was just approved by this board, worded differently.
And
So I think
Vernon recently joined the alliance as well.
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
great. So I think you're asking me what the next steps are. So that's the next step. Obviously, the next step is also to get the $1,500 to the RSCA, and I think begin to make plans for some kind of a community forum, and reach out to our legislators again, for a day and a time and a commitment.
I'd encourage you to wait a little while to see what. Basically, it's July and people are all over the place, and I think that to start doing what you've already started doing, which is talking to neighbors.
Yes.
And contacting other chairs in the county or contiguous districts, and just start having the conversations, and again among yourselves as well.
And the other conversation needs to be engagement with our superintendent, to talk to our superintendent.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we haven't had that discussion yet.
But the Superintendent's Association has had.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have. But now it needs to be boards talking to our superintendent. What do you think next steps are, Tim?
I was asking, just informally, I would think that the superintendents would be talking to each other. about possibilities, of forming a super union SU.
Well, and again, that has begun already with Windham Northeast in terms of because they formally applied for a BOCES designation. That was passed by the legislature as a legitimate organization, and they formally applied to join together to share the administration or the management of the out-of-school placements.
So my understanding about BOCES and our district, we've been a learning cooperative for approximately 4 years.
Yes.
It is in the planning stages, moving very slowly. And in speaking to Mark about this, it's going to be discussed in the fall at a board meeting. And so.
And so the same testimony, the same BOCES testimony that I got, that list of administrative services on, they talked about the problem with that application and any application because the Agency of Education does not have the staff to process it. They're simply not able to do anything. And I think that I haven't seen the response from the agency. Apparently it exists, but apparently it was not satisfactory. They're not able to do it. The staff has been reduced to the point where they can't move on it. That's why it's going slowly.
Right. And of course, we're dependent upon the AOE.
And then the legislature comes along and the governor and presents a whole new opportunity, which is just merge the whole West End.
Right. So lots of moving parts to this. Ruby.
I think that I agree that now is not even the time to really engage legislators or think about that, but I do think preparing ourselves for once every things fall into place a little bit more, once the legislators are back online, moving quickly with a plan. And it feels to me like maybe it now is the moment to, if there is synergy with some of our contiguous neighboring districts, to invite them into that type of a thing. It could be, maybe it's in Bellows Falls, maybe, it doesn't need to be in Brattleboro. But, and I know the last time when we invited all of our legislators, we also invited Michelle Boslin. She used to be a legislator, but she's actually now in a different district. So there are ways.
That was my mistake.
Yeah.
That was a good mistake.
It was a good mistake. She didn't come, but I like her.
Uh-huh.
And so I wonder if now is a good moment to be proactively, invitational, kind of like collaborative in that way. And it could, like David said, it could be that it doesn't fit, it's not a good fit, or it doesn't, maybe it won't work out that way, but who cares? It's just inviting legislators to talk and tell us what the heck is going on and allow us to think that we're, potentially the walls of who we are could be bigger, wider.
Mm-hmm. These are difficult conversations to have. It feels very Machiavellian. And the language that we need to use needs to be carefully considered, because every district coming together or every supervisory union, let me be clear, supervisory union coming together to form a bigger whole, WHOLE. How do we feel about each other? Whose game is it that's being played? Who's in charge? So I think we want to use language very carefully. I think working together, collaborating. I want to use language that does not make people bristle and feel that they're losing control, but rather that we are retaining control by collaborating. So, And it raises issues about philosophical differences from town to town, from board to board. So these conversations, I just want to say they have begun, and
Just the beginning.
it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It's a very interesting time to be part of this experience. Other discussions about this? Okay. Jessica, did I see your hand go up just now?
I think of things like this from a community organizing background, and I don't know if anyone on this board has experience doing community organizing or if we have volunteers in the community, but it does feel like a very one-on-one conversations. What are you interested in? Where do we align? And it's so much work, and I'm not sure how to move forward to do it, but that's just how I think about this. It's like campaigns and community organizing is what it comes down to.
I think we will be calling on all those skills. Yes, as we navigate this and we figure out how to move on. David's point is well taken. We had discussed this, that we're not going to do a community forum in July. Makes no sense. It makes sense to do it as the school year begins again. Ruby.
I agree with that, but I also think, to speak to what I'm hearing from Jessica is that it's possible that there's opportunities for engagement that are different or smaller, or people can access differently than a big forum.
Oh, good grief, yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so that's part of what
Yes.
a campaign looks like.
Yes.
It's and so I think that I don't know who's thinking around those lines, but I do think that that's something to keep in our in our hat, that it could be that there's lots of it. Like, we want to start having lots of engagement points, particularly because right now the only way people are getting information is through our news outlets, which are actually doing a great job. I have been very impressed with some of our news outlets. That's wonderful. But at some point, we need to come together as a community and be like, do we understand this? Do we have questions? That kind of engagement is going to be really important once we're at the point of wanting to get buy-in on change that we think is the right way to go.
Okay, moving forward. I think, and to Ruby's point, this is not over. We're going to be coming back. And David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think your presence will be called upon many times more.
It's really nice to be here again. It's been, I think, 4 years maybe.
It has been.
I've forgotten how hard it is to sit for an hour.
Let's
Stay awake, but
ooh, la la, excuse me. David,
I like the break.
Okay, David, yes, the break is good, isn't it? David, the meeting isn't over. Please have a seat. Oh my God, sitting down. Oh, I didn't mean, I'm not that directive, but I just wanted you to feel the burn. Okay, we are moving on to consent agenda.
Actually, I have to go.
You see.
No, I can go to the restroom and come back.
No, we do the consent agenda with one motion now. We don't read the whole thing.
Oh, how delightful.
You still can leave, though.
You can yes.
Escape while you can.
Yes.
But it has more to do with age than interest. I need the restroom.
Oh.
I got that on
Fair.
TV.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that this is really a wonderful conversation. I'm really impressed with the coherence of the board and but more importantly, the things that you're talking about. So good luck. Keep them on the agenda because things tend to disappear because new things like this show up to take your attention.
Well, we're struggling to keep things on the agenda, and
it's always
lots of post-its all over my bathroom window. No, mirrors and windows. I think they get confused. Yes. Oh, goodbye.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Consent agenda. anything to be removed from it? We are approving minutes for 3 meetings and the warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any denials? Any abstentions? Okay, it is approved. Unfinished business, nothing, new business. Can I just raise something about new business? I am having twice monthly meetings with Mo Hart as board chair. And we're not meeting in July, but we have 2 meetings scheduled for August already. And we are talking about things like the orientation manual, making sure we find a way of getting that online. Just want to say the central office is swamped with work. So Bethany, I forgot her last name. Bichard. Yes, and works side by side with Mo Hart, and oh my goodness, that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But ways of getting the orientation manual online so it can easily be updated, finishing it up. As well, Tim, this is close to your heart, talking about ways of getting motions. A list of, I haven't forgotten these things, I have a to-do list all over the place. But ways of getting past motions of significance, a listing, so that you're not suddenly scrambling and looking through minutes to find motions. But it is time-consuming, tedious work, clerical work, to go through every set of minutes for however far back we want to go. And maybe we should start with the present and move back in time. Maybe that might feel kind of good. But to see about getting a listing of that. And okay, I just wanted to say those conversations are taking place.
And those are in addition to meetings that the chairs have with the superintendent in terms of
That has
agenda
nothing to
setting.
do with that.
They're
Has-
totally separate.
Totally separate. It's only Mo Hart and Deborah Stanford. Okay, to figure out just, and also to pay very close attention to budgetary season coming up, right? Okay, and making sure they know glitches about information sessions, that they're well advertised. All those timeframes are coming out of the central office. So, anything else? All right. The other thing that we might consider at some point, we just had a meeting with no administrators present. This is the first time I'm aware of this kind of a meeting taking place, other than a board retreat, but that's not a meeting.
Last July, we had a similar meeting. Yeah.
Okay, forget I said that. Okay, thank you.
And we did have an administrator because we did have.
Oh,
Hannah.
Hannah was here.
But what was
And
your
Kerri.
point?
I'm, okay. Anything?
I
No,
move
what was
adjourn.
your-
Okay, second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.